So the first Keats poem in the collection that we'll look at for the Romantics is Ode to a Nightingale. A bit of a strange poem in the sense that the sort of the story of the poem is that he hears a nightingale song, and that really inspires him to feel creative, but also feel very, very melancholic, because a nightingale song is eternal and has been there throughout Greek civilization. Right through to the present day. It's been heard by poets and muses and musicians. But that will that will carry on going even when Keats himself has gone. So it's to do with the transience alive. It's to do with Keats not being appreciated. It's your classic sort of themes there. So the first stanza: my heart aches and a drowsy numbness pains my senses, of hemlock I had drunk. Notice sounds in Keats. We have an awful lot of assonance used, a lot of sibilants used, that drowsy numbness pains, those S sounds, the long vowel sounds, the aches, the pains, sense and hem. We get a lot of repeated vowel sounds in Keats, and it gives that slightly I guess woozy, sleepy sort of tone to that opening, as he's describing essentially feeling as though he's had some hemlock, an ancient kind of herbal drug that would make you tired. Or emptied some dull opiate into the drains. 1 minute passed and Leithwoods had sunk. So the Leith was a river in ancient Greek mythology, in the underworld, that made people forgetful. So he's saying, here in this song, I feel like I'm drunk, I feel tired, I feel like I'm forgetting things. 'Tis not through envy of thy happy lot, thy being the nightingale, but being too happy in thine happiness. I'm too happy in your happiness. I share in your beautiful song, and actually it makes me almost sad. That thou, light-winged dryad of the trees, a dryad is a nymph in Greek mythology, in some melodious plot of beech and green, and so and again the beech and green, that assonance there, and shadows numberless, singest of summer in full-throated ease. So we get the sense of the nightingale's song being free and airy and breezy. Keats already feeling a little bit cloying by comparison. He's saying he feels tired and he feels almost drunk, and that assonance and the sibilants, I think, really adds to that feeling. Oh, for a draught of vintage, saying, I want some wine, basically, that hath been cooled a long age in the deep delved earth, tasting of flora and the country green, dance and provincial song and sunburnt mirth. So those pastoral images that the first generation romantics love so much, Keats is sort of linking that to the wine that he wants. He wants to join this nightingale, even if it means through being drunk and through kind of losing himself. I guess there's a wider point here that the Nightingale maybe represents those earlier romantics, those earlier poets who've shared their song, and he's sort of saying that he wants to be able to do the same. Oh, for a beaker full of the warm south, full of the true, the blushful Hippocrene. So the Hippocrene was a fountain in ancient Greece. He's saying he wants a blushful version. In other words, he wants red wine, the blushed water, with beaded bubbles winking at the brim and purple-stained mouth, that I might drink and leave the world unseen, and with thee fade away into the forest dim. Keats' rhyme scheme, rather like Shelley, there is a rhyme scheme that goes throughout this, but again, it's not that regular ABAB that you get with Byron. You'll notice there are lines that rhyme with lines that we've had before, but sometimes it's several lines between them, so green and seen are several lines apart here, and again it adds that slightly lazy, laconic image of the poem, I think, that goes with the assonance, goes with the sibilant. It adds that sort of, like I say, lazy, almost drunken feeling of this poem. Fade far away, dissolve, and quite forget what thou amongst the leaves hast never known, the weariness, the fever, and the fret, here where men sit and hear each other groan. So there we get, like lines written in early spring, that central irony of the poem. The bird being free reminds Keats of the fact that he's not. He's part of a world that is full of weariness, fever, fret. Of course, weariness and fever has a particular meaning to Keats. Is beyond the poetic. Again, notice that the assonance of weariness and fever and the fret, the alliteration with fever and fret. Of course, he's talking partly there about tuberculosis, which has taken members of his family. Where palsy shakes a few sad last grey hairs, where youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies, and that's basically the symptoms there of TB. Where but to think is to be full of sorrow and leaden-eyed despair. So again, this idea of Keats thinking and therefore he's sad. The Nightingale doesn't think, it's free, it sings airily, and that's the contrast between them. Where beauty cannot keep a lustrous eyes or new love pine at them beyond tomorrow. Keats lives in a transient world. The Nightingale's song is eternal, but Keats lives in a world where beauty doesn't remain, and where love doesn't remain. And again, he's making that point that we live in a world where you have your hair that goes grey and then it falls out, That's a bit of a contrast to, the nightingale of this eternal world. So, there's a real melancholic tone to this poem that Keats is saying, I'm not part of your world. Away, away, for I will fly to thee. Notice those exclamatives. He's, urging the nightingale to leave, because otherwise he will be tempted to go with him. Not charioted by Bacchus and his pards. So Bacchus was the Roman name for Dionysus, who was the Greek god, essentially, of kind of wine and festivity, who flew on a chariot pulled by leopards. So he's saying, basically, Keats is saying, I want to join the nightingale, but I won't be going with Bacchus or Dionysus. But on the viewless wings of poesy, though the dull brain perplexes and retards, already with thee. Yeah? So I'm kind of fighting. Keats' body is still on earth, but his brain is going with this nightingale. Tender is the night, and happily the queen moon is on her throne, clustered around by all a starry phase, but here there is no light, save what from heaven is with the breezes blown, through verdurous glooms and winding mossy ways. And I think those winding mossy ways, obviously, again, it's a pastoral image, but is that not this poem as well? The winding mossy ways of this poem, where, it can be many, many lines between different rhyming words, the thrown and the blown coming several lines apart. It's almost like the Song of the Nightingale is kind of peppered throughout this poem, and it keeps being echoed as each stanza goes on. I cannot see what flowers are at my feet, nor what soft incense hangs upon the boughs, but in embalmed darkness. Again, notice that assonance, embalmed darkness. The assonance adds to the idea of Keats himself being embalmed, part of a world of death. Guess each sweet wherewith the seasonable month endows. So, Keats sitting here in the dark. It's like Shelley in The Cold Earth Slept Below. He's in this beautiful world, but he can't quite see it. And metaphorically, I think there's a wider point there. Wherewith the seasonable month endows the grass, the thicket, and the fruit tree wild, white hawthorn and the pastoral eglantine, fast fading violets covered up in leaves. So again, those violets fast fading. He's talking here about the transience of life. He's in this beautiful setting, but he's aware that it is transient, whereas the Nightingale's song is eternal. And mid-May's eldest child, the coming musk rose, full of dewy wine, the murmurous haunt of flies on summer eve. So again, that sense of that summer is coming, but also as it gets towards night, these flies, I guess, signal the end of the day, but I guess also you get flies associated with decay and death, and there's always that sense, even in the brightest summer day, that sense that death is hanging over in this poem. Darkling I listen, and for many a time I have been half in love with easeful death. And again, that's that conflict in the poem. Keats is talking about the fact that actually in some ways, is death almost preferable to life, that actually this sense of eternity in death is almost preferable to the transience of life. Called him soft names in many amused rhyme, to take into the air my quiet breath, nay more than ever seems it rich to die, to cease upon the midnight with no pain. I want to die in this moment because it's so beautiful. I don't want the next day to come. I'd rather be held in stasis in this moment than the transience of life carry on. That's a theme that's carried on in the next Keats poem, Ode on a Grecian Urn. Well, thou art pouring forth thy soul abroad in such an ecstasy. So, the nightingale that just keeps going in that constant state of ecstasy that Keats knows will always fade for him, but for the nightingale it won't. Still wouldst thou sing, and I have ears in vain, to thy high requiem become a sod. In other words, I'd die, I'd become a sod of earth, I'd be buried, and you'd still keep singing. That's the difference between us. He's not talking to one specific nightingale here. He's talking about, the nightingale song that has been heard throughout the generations. Thou wast not born for death, immortal bird. I will die, you won't. There's that contrast between them. A lot like lines written in early spring, I think, this one. Now hungry generations tread thee down. The voice I hear this passing night was heard in ancient days by emperor and clown. Notice that focus on class. The emperor and the clown both heard this nightingale song in exactly the same way. Keats, I said in that intro video, he's very much hung up on these social distinctions because they actually govern his life. Perhaps the selfsame song that found a path through the sad heart of Ruth when sick for home she stood in tears amid the alien corn. So Ruth was a character in the Bible who was exiled. So he's saying, this song is eternal. All of these great characters have heard this, but so have the low-born characters too. This is the great level of this nightingale song. The same that ofttimes hath charmed magic casements opening on the foam of perilous seas in fairy lands forlorn. This is a song that links reality to mythology. This is a song that unites legend to the real world. That's this eternal song that levels everything. But Keats sees that as that contrast reminds him how class-bound the real world is, how transient the real world is, because it's not like the Nightingale and the Nightingale song. Forlorn, the very word is like a bell to toll me back from thee to my soul self. So he ends with almost like a metaphorical bell ringing. He's going, no, I need to get back to my soul self. Adieu, the fancy cannot cheat so well as she's fain to do, deceiving elf. Yeah, he's had a brief moment of thinking, oh, death will be better than life. How amazing is this moment? But life always carries on. That transience returns. He's got to move on. Adieu, adieu, thy plaintive anthem fades past the near meadows, over the still stream, up the hillside, and now 'tis buried deep in the next valley glade. So the nightingale flies away, and again, metaphorically, Keats is showing how that's showing how these, glorious moments in life will always fade away, will always disappear, will always fly away from us, because life is transient. Was it a vision or a waking dream? Fled is that music, do I wake or sleep? And it ends with Keats in this almost state of confusion, questioning how far this was even a real song that he heard. How far was he asleep? How far was he dreaming? And I think Keats' key point there is that he's in a bit of a threshold. He's on a bit of a liminal place, we'll call it, on a threshold between two things. He feels like he's between life and death. He feels like he's between the past and the present and the future. He feels like he's between these great classical poets and the fact that he's part of the Cockney school. The Nightingale sort of is the moment where all those barriers fall down. At the end of the poem, Keats still feels in that moment, but aware that all of it's going to spring up again.